Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a warm-up story involving an enraged Karen. Our OP has set up a petty revenge for her. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Karen, the manager, loses her job. About 15 years ago, I worked in a large hospital for kids in the maintenance department. Our manager, let's call her Karen, was a major B. No one on our team liked her, and we outwardly showed her no respect after her constant harassment towards us in the 2 years she worked there. She would call us on the maintenance radios and be rude or tell the guys they were being incompetent. It was beyond micromanagement, but also rude on top of it. She expected the maintenance guys to come do work at her house for free, or would tell some of the hospital vendors she would guarantee the hospital contract if they did work at her house for cheap. She used to brag about this to me. Karen and I were the only women in our department of about 25 people. I was a mouthy 24-something-year-old and didn't care for her attitude and regularly would say, "Yeah, sure, whatever," when she asked me to do things. I would do what she asked because it was my job, but I would have made a non-committal remark like that. One time, she asked me to come back to her house and help her pull down dead trees in her backyard since she was having a pool installed. I said no, mainly because I wouldn't do it for someone I liked, let alone her, and pretty soon after, she started treating me even worse than she did before. She'd been trying to get me in trouble since then, such as CCing her buddy in HR on emails to me asking for status on projects that I was working on, and wanted my replies in writing. Fast forward 6 months later, me and one of the maintenance guys were chatting in the office and I was 5 months pregnant with my first baby. She asked me to do something, I don't remember what, and I said, "Yeah, whatever, sure, I'll do that in a few minutes." And I turned back around to talk to my coworker. She's standing behind me and I hear her whisper, "I wish I could slap the crap out of you." I can see my coworker saw her say it too and I made no comment, but I was shocked. I acted like I didn't hear her, though. She left the office a minute later to do something. I get up and walk down the hall to employee health department because I'm fuming and my heart was racing, pissed. Also 5 months pregnant. The EH nurse has me lay down for a bit, take my vitals, write up a formal report. An hour later, send me back to my desk as okay to continue working. When I log back in, I see an email from Karen with HR CC'd asking where I'd been for the last hour as she called the office phone a bunch of times and had abandoned my desk. So I emailed her back. I apologized for being away from my desk. When you said you'd like to slap the crap out of me, I was so upset I had to be calmed down and had to have mine and my baby's vitals checked at employee health, and they were concerned about my hostile working environment and wanted me to stay there for the full hour. I made sure I BCC'd her buddy in HR and all of HR, her boss, and his boss to make sure everyone saw it. I was summoned to HR about 30 minutes later. I knew Karen hadn't seen my reply yet. This was early 2000s and her computer was down in the office near me. They had me go home for the day and put me on admin leave for 3 extra days. I came back to the office to see her desk had been emptied out and we never saw her again. Guess who soon got Karen's job? A nice raise on my salary. Those guys in maintenance threw me the best baby shower ever 3 months later. I really admire the ability to stay cool and collected in situations like this. It's so difficult, but highly admirable. It's the only power we have to maintain control. Bravo, OP. And our second story. Lady, you're not special. I was the supervisor for a vendor company that supplied employees to different airlines for services. In this situation, it was providing the wheelchair and other assistive services to those traveling with a disability. This was about 2 to 3 years ago, so details are kind of fuzzy. That day, I was supervising the smallest section, small in that I only had 4 agents to oversee. Due to the nature of how we could get busy and in those moments I needed all hands on deck, I usually allowed my employees to work between themselves when they'd have their lunch break and have them notify me, so I could be aware of the number of staff I currently have on the floor and what they're doing. One of my staff had just left for his 30-minute lunch break. I was making my rounds, making sure things were okay at the different gates. I then get a call over the radio that a passenger at the ticket counter needs assistance. I call several agents to see if they're available to assist. One of them responds back and says he's coming back from dropping his previous passenger off and will be there momentarily. Not even 5 minutes later, I get a call stating that the passenger at the counter is demanding for his supervisor because she's been waiting for 30 minutes. I check my call log, as our radios record times and messages for situations like this, and see that my very first notification wasn't even 5 minutes ago. Yay, it's going to be one of those customers. I make my way down to the ticket counter, which was another 5 minutes or so. I meet the customer in question. It's an older lady, let's call her Cindy, and her boy toy? He doesn't play much of a role in the story, but throughout this he's quiet, defers to her all the time, and is a big, muscular, younger man than Cindy. Me. Good evening, my name is... I was told someone needed a supervisor. Ticket agent. Yes, it's this lady right here. She needs a wheelchair. Cindy. Yes, I've been waiting for 30 minutes, and my flight is getting ready to leave, and I need to be there. This is unacceptable. Now, as a supervisor, I get paid more than the pushers, and the pushers are dependent on tips, with some places paying the waitress wage. So if any one of you who aren't aware of this, yes, you may tip the wheelchair agent, and they'll greatly appreciate it. Because of this, I try to make sure that I don't take any of my employees' passengers, as I don't want to mess with their tips. Me. I understand, ma'am. I've notified my agents and have an individual on the way. He was dropping off another passenger, but he should be here shortly. Cindy. No, I need to be at my gate now. I can't wait another minute. I'm going to miss my flight. Me. Well, I could take you through security and tell my agent to meet us on the other side of security instead of here. Would that be okay? Cindy. Yes. Yes, that's fine. As we go through, I ask for her boarding pass to scan it to indicate I've picked her up, which enables me to see all sorts of information, including if she's pre-checked for TSA. She wasn't. I take her to the TSA agent to have him check her boarding pass and ID, then enter the regular line. Her status was also irrelevant due to this terminal having certain hours when they have pre-check and shut it down for the other time periods when it's slow. Cindy. Why are we going here? I'm TSA pre-check. Me. Well, I didn't see it on your boarding pass, but currently they have it closed down for right now. Cindy. Well, why are we waiting behind all these people? There were like 4 people. I'm in a wheelchair, so I'm able to cut and go to the front. Me. Unfortunately, I can't do that, ma'am. We're able to go through an expedited line. At this, I point towards the line I'm referring to, which is the line to have TSA look at your information before getting back in line to put stuff through the machine. But once we reach this point, we need to wait in line behind everyone else. Cindy. You don't understand. I'm going to miss my flight. I ask for her boarding pass at this point. Me. Oh, you still have about 15 minutes before they even start boarding, an additional 30 before they close boarding. It's just right around the corner from here, so we have plenty of time to make it. Cindy. No, you don't understand. I have to be the first one on the plane. When I still insisted that I couldn't take her to the front, she stood up from the chair, marched to the front without the need of any assistance, and started yelling at the TSA agent that she's in a wheelchair and needs to come to the front of the line. TSA agent said that if she wanted to cut in front of everyone, all of 3 people now, she needed to ask them. Her travel partner then meekly asks each and every one if they can cut in front, and they said sure. As I get the luggage and chair up to the front, Cindy tried to go through the metal detector. TSA agent asked for boarding pass, and she shows both that and ID. Due to her being old enough to go through even without being pre-checked, the agent allows her through. At this, Cindy turns to me and yells, "See, I told you that I was pre-check." Me. I apologize, ma'am, but I didn't see it. She gets my name after threatening to report me, and I transfer her over to the agent who had called, who was supposed to have picked her up. Story isn't over yet, folks. I then went to the ticket counter, got the name of the agent who called, who confirmed that she wasn't waiting for 30 minutes, got a copy of the lady's boarding pass, got the name of the TSA agent, and wrote a report at the office detailing them as how witnesses and stapling her non-TSA pre-check boarding pass to the paperwork. It's been a few years, so I forget the term, but the person who's making sure we're in compliance with the ADA and ACAA calls me about a month later and tells me he's gotten a complaint about me. He saw my paperwork but wanted to hear it from my mouth because it's so crazy the stuff she said about you that I know she's lying. I want to hear this story. I didn't get in any trouble for that. And our last story. The HOA sold my beach house. My grandfather owned a large piece of land near several lakes that used to be earthen quarries and now were flooded after they closed, so they became artificial lakes. He got his land after the quarries were closed, and at the time the area was quite far from the city. When the quarries were filled with water, it was a great place for relaxation. My grandfather built a small house on the shore and used it as a summer house and a place for family. Later, when the nearby town started to grow, about 40 years, this place became a suburb with a very good price for land. Luxury homes and townhouses began to appear nearby. At the time, my grandfather was pretty old and not feeling well, so my father became the owner and the one who looked after the place. My family built 2 more small houses with large panoramic windows and 1 bedroom overlooking the lakes, which we rented out to vacationers on the lake. We also built 1 3-bedroom house for family use. The old house was used as a barn and a small storage shed. About 5 years ago, the real estate company that was building the houses and also acting as the management company for the entire property, sort of like an HOA, decided to buy our land and build a big 3-story hotel with a restaurant and spa. The company representatives came to us about once a week and offered some ridiculous prices for this land. Sometimes they even raised them by 1%, LOL. Although my father categorically replied that he would not sell the land the first time. One day, Karen drove up to our place in 2 SUVs with some guys, probably security guards. They opened our gate and drove up to the house as the owners. Karen immediately started screaming that her husband was a big money businessman and she had connections at the mayor's office, and if we didn't sell the land now, she'd get it for free in a week. My father, my uncle, and my brother decided that now would be a good time to clean the guns in the 2nd floor balcony overlooking the front door. Karen, apparently suddenly realizing she'd forgotten to turn off the iron at home, jumped in the car and quickly drove off with her boys from our land. About 6 months later, in the winter, my father came to check on the property and saw that a construction crew was taking apart my grandfather's old house. It later turned out that Karen had decided to divorce her husband, the owner of the construction company. She faked the documents on our land, told her husband she bought it from us, and resold it to him. Karen's husband turned out to be not such a bad guy. Now we're waiting for the trial to be over. Our lawyer thinks we'll have enough money to build a couple more houses to rent out to our clients. And Karen's facing several years in prison. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.